The Sports Renegades podcast on SportsTownChicago.com. Welcome back to the Sports Renegades here on SportsTownChicago.com. I'm Ryan Stuprich.
And I'm Ryan Risky.
We have a lot of baseball stuff to talk about this segment. We're going to start with the news that broke just about an hour ago, I guess. Bryce Harper won the NL MVP. Josh Donaldson won the AL MVP. There was really no question for either one of those. The AL race a little tighter. The NL race, there was really no question.
Yeah, I mean, it was unfortunate that the Cubs really didn't have anyone really that was like a real MVP candidate. I mean, that's just how it goes. It was more. It was more of like you'd have to split the MVP in between Rizzo, Bryant, and Arrieta for the Cubs to win the MVP. They didn't have one guy that just absolutely dominated.
Right. Although that first half, I mean, Anthony Rizzo was one of the top players. After the All-Star break, he sort of fell off a little bit. He had that great end of July and August where he came out of his slump in a big way. And then he was pretty good for the rest of the season. But
he almost single-handedly swept the Brewers in that 4-game series.
Yeah, that's where he really turned it around, and then he was playing really well. I think they went at Pittsburgh after that around my birthday, and he was playing really well then too. So, I mean, it was a really good but he was just really good in that first half. He was certainly in the discussion, but he ended up finishing fourth, did you say?
Yeah, he finished fourth. Bryant was sixth. Right. Arrieta was 11th.
Yeah.
And, I mean, with Rizzo, I mean, he had a great season. It's just he didn't have, eye-popping numbers like Bryce Harper.
Who finished second and third?
I don't remember who the other finalists were. I mean, Harper was going to...
I don't remember either. I don't...
I mean, I really didn't care, which is the funny thing.
Paul Goldschmidt came in second, and Joey
Votto.
Joey Votto came in third. I
think Votto had no chance.
No. Part of that was, I mean, if he had the numbers like Bryce Harper, then maybe. But they were both on bad teams.
Right. I mean, Harper had insane numbers. If the Diamondbacks had made the playoffs, I think Goldschmidt might have had a slight edge over Harper.
Yeah, and he's the youngest unanimous MVP winner in history is Bryce Harper.
And that really says a lot because his team didn't make the playoffs and they played terrible most of the year.
Yeah, they did. They were okay early and we thought they could turn it around, but they didn't. Let's see. Donaldson beat out Lorenzo. Mike Trout was second. Lorenzo Cain was third. That's a bit of a surprise that Lorenzo Cain crept into number 3, although he is sort of he's not the offensive face of that Royals team because they have so many good players, but he's certainly one of the better players on that team.
What I just couldn't stand was when Kevin Kiermaier won the Gold Glove for center fielders, and Royals fans were just bitching that Kane didn't win it.
It's like you won the World Series.
Well, I mean, I'm just kind of going Kevin Kiermaier had a historically good defensive season, one of the greatest defensive seasons ever, and you're trying to say that your guy should have won over that. And, I mean, Kane probably should have been a finalist for the center field Gold Glove. He wasn't, and Royals fans were saying that the only reason Kiermaier won is because they got the votes wrong and Kane wasn't in the finalists.
Yeah, and if my team won the World Series, I wouldn't be, too upset that, we didn't win, or Lorenzo Cain didn't win this, or... even if the Cubs won the World Series this year and
seriously, who the
NL
cares?
Cy Young ended up being great, I'd be like, okay, I won the World Series. That's really all I care about at this point.
Royals fans are just spoiled. I mean, they really are they
didn't used to be.
Well, the problem is now I have a feeling they're just taking everything for granted, and when Alex Gordon leaves as a free agent, they're going to realize how important he was to them. Which, I mean, I know they know that. Except, I mean, they really came out of hiding when they got good. I mean,
before a few years ago, that was one of the worst sports cities in all of America. The Chiefs didn't do anything except their couple Super Bowls in the '60s, and the Royals didn't do anything since they won the World Series in 1985. They hadn't made the playoffs since last year.
Right. I mean, I really think Royals fans are spoiled, and they're in for a rude awakening soon. I mean, I mean, really, you win the World Series, so you're going to complain that your guy doesn't win a Gold Glove award?
And you got a couple young teams in the AL Central. I mean, Kansas City's still probably the best team, but Minnesota and the Indians are two pretty good teams, especially the Indians, that could creep up. And I think Francisco Lindor finished second in the
Rookie of the Year, voting to Carlos Correa. The Indians, I think, are a team that they're going to trade one of their pitchers between Kluber, Carrasco, or
Bauer.
Salazar.
Not Bauer.
I don't think Bauer could get you a return that you need. They need to get a major league outfielder.
I agree with that.
That's why they've been linked to the
need.
Cubs and Jorge Soler for Carrasco or Kluber.
There's been a lot of rumors. And the one that sort of broke today, which actually makes a lot of sense, is Jeff Samardzija possibly coming back to the Cubs. Phil Rogers tweeted out yesterday that Theo Epstein and Jeff Samardzija were hanging together in Chicago. The Cubs have an interest in him.
Phil Rogers didn't even know that until some guy at the bar tweeted him the picture. And I'm sure he didn't give that guy any credit.
Not according to this, no. And, I heard on the Score they went out to dinner last night.
They had a drink.
And they just sort of talked or whatever. I mean, talking to Theo has to be much better than talking to Rick Hahn.
Right. I'm sure he realized the White Sox are bad and he didn't want to be there again.
Yeah, it just, it's a matter of if does Jeff Samardzija want to win, or does he want to be like the number 2 pitcher or number 3 pitcher on a team, or does he want to be 4 or 5, which is where
does
he
he
fit
want
in for
money?
The Cubs. Yeah, or does he want money? Because, I mean, who knows how much the Cubs are going to offer him. Not probably what he wants, necessarily.
No, I'm pretty sure Theo's just laughing at
But we're going to offer him something for what he played last year, which was, pretty bad. ERA almost 5. I think it ended up being over 5.
4.96. Like, I'm sure Theo's just sitting there just laughing in his mind. Like, you remember that 5-year, $85 million extension I offered you?
Thank God they didn't offer him that.
Yeah, I'd much rather have Addison Russell.
I think I'd rather have Addison Russell at this point. I agree with you there. And, there's so much stuff going on, and it's going to get really exciting next month when they actually have the winter meetings. That's where we're going to see all this cool stuff. Johnny Cueto's a free agent, as we know.
See, that's the thing. Like, stuff is happening before the winter meetings now. I mean,
I know.
Which I really like that, because that means that means that day one of the winter meetings could have some big stuff instead of, that's when negotiations begin. And that's why baseball is the best off season, is because they have the winter meetings. It's not like basketball, hockey, and football where day one of free agency guys are signing.
Yeah, exactly. And, of course, the big pitcher free agent, which we've been talking about every week, is David Price. Where will he end up? Will he re-sign with the Blue Jays? Are they going to offer him the money he wants? Are the Yankees in on that? They sort of always are in on stuff. Are the Cubs heavily in on this? I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing. We really don't know. We really don't know what the Cubs' plan is, other than they're looking for pitching. We don't know how they're going to do that. Like, are they going to trade Jorge Soler to the Indians for Kluber or Carrasco and then sign Alex Gordon?
That would be something I'd be in favor of. I mean, I hate to lose a bat like Soler, but
Right.
he can't hit in the cold, and that's almost half of the season in
Right.
Chicago.
Well, and also throw in the fact that his whole career he's been pretty injury prone.
He has been very injury prone. He's had 2 or 3 separate injuries already in like a year and a half with the Cubs. So that's not good.
I mean, he has trouble staying healthy, especially those hamstring and groin injuries. He's had ankle injuries.
Of course, Ben Zobrist is still a free agent. That's something that the Cubs could explore if they end up dealing Castro or Baez, and in a sort of deal. You could get a good utility guy that can play infield and outfield in Zobrist, who's now a World Series champion. Mike Leake's a free agent. Cespedes is a free agent. He's expected to not actually re-sign with the Mets. A lot of people are saying he's going to go out west to like the Angels or something.
He could
are having ties to Cespedes.
I mean, I really think that at this point, depending on what way the Cubs go, they're better off. Maybe if they're going to trade Soler for a Kluber or Carrasco, then pretty much what they should do is then sign Alex Gordon and then sign someone like Mike Leake.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what they should try to do. You're adding, Kluber / Carrasco, whoever they would get for Soler. You've got Alex Gordon in your outfield, and then you still have to find a center fielder, though.
Yeah, still have to get the center fielder, which will be an issue, and that's why a lot of people say Jason Hayward, but we don't know. But if you're doing all that, you can't get Jason Hayward, I wouldn't think. So.
No, I think, and if they go the route that, with the Indians, they're not going to be in a position to hand out a big deal like that because they'll be giving out one to Alex. They'll be giving a nice deal to Alex Gordon, probably in the range of 5 years, $90 million. Probably going to have to give Mike Leake like a 5-year, $80 million deal.
And if you have Alex Gordon, he's playing left, so that leaves. I mean, Schwarber moving to right, Schwarber learning how to play the catcher position real fast. I don't know. It's really going to be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, I mean, even if you do all that, I know you're right. They still need a center fielder if Fowler, if Fowler signs
right. Because I mean,
else.
Gordon's not. I mean, really. I mean, maybe you could still fit Schwarber in left and put Gordon in right. I mean, who
knows?
We really don't know. I mean, Schwarber won't be going to right.
No, I don't think he should. I think he's probably going to stay in left. I mean, either way, he's going to be starting whether he's a catcher or an outfielder. The problem is there enough time during this offseason to get him ready to play catcher? Because eventually Montero is going to be gone. This is David Ross's last year, so you're going to be stuck with Schwarber learning how to play catcher or bringing up another catcher.
I don't see Montero being traded this offseason, maybe next offseason. I think Montero's going to be the everyday catcher this year.
Yeah, well, but and then when you talk about it a couple years down the road when he's gone, because he'll be too old or whatever, or the Cubs aren't going to want him when they're when they're building still a young team, you're going to have to figure out what you want to do with Kyle Schwarber, because he certainly doesn't look like a major league catcher at this point. So
no, he's not ready. He'd probably need at least another year with David Ross and Henry Blanco and Miguel Montero to get him ready. Yeah,
I definitely agree with that. So, I mean, who knows what's going to happen, but I think it's pretty exciting that the Cubs were already sort of doing stuff, especially, that they talked to Jeff Samardzija. He seemed fine when he was here, and he has a good pitching coach, again, if he does sign here with Chris Bosio. So, I don't know. I'm not sure why Don Cooper couldn't help Jeff Samardzija.
Probably because Don Cooper's pitching style is kind of getting a little outdated. Like, how many pitchers?
A little bit, yeah.
How many pitchers has Don Cooper helped recently? None?
Maybe Quintana.
But besides that, there's been nothing. Like Hector Noesi, that was a disaster.
Right, and Sal, I mean, you can't really give the credit for Don Cooper to Sal. Sal's just a talent.
Right, I mean, that's the thing. Like with your pitching coach, it's just kind of like, with Bosio signing guys like Scott Feldman and turning him into Jake Arrieta and Pedro Strop. Paul Mahalam into the deal with Atlanta, getting Arodys Vizcaino.
Mm-hmm.
Jason Hamill, packaging him with Samardzija to get Addison Russell.
Right, and so when you look at all that, it's pretty remarkable what he's been able to do, turning these pitchers who, for some reason, are only pitching well with the Cubs. When they move to other places, they're not pitching nearly as well. That shows you how good Chris Bosio is. It's so interesting. And then, of course, there's the Zach Greinke saga where he's going to end up. He'll probably re-sign with the Dodgers, like we said last week.
Actually, I don't think he's re-signing with the Dodgers. I read somewhere.
Why do you say that?
I read a report that said that him and the Dodgers are kind of at even ends right now. The Dodgers don't want to shell out another mega deal. Because I read that their owners want to keep the payroll around $200 million this year.
I wonder if that has to do with Don Mattingly being let go. I don't know. I wonder if he had a close relationship with him, and now that he's going to have a new manager, he's like, well, I could play somewhere else with a new manager anyway.
Yeah, it could be that, or he sees kind of where they are at as an organization.
Mm-hmm.
And he could also kind of go with, well, they might not even want to give me the money that I want. So
right, and of course Daniel Murphy, the GOAT of the NLCS, he declined his qualifying offer. I wonder if his good playoff run will boost up his stock, and he'll be playing somewhere as a starting second baseman. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, the weird thing is, isn't that like that Homer frenzy kind of feel like in the past, and like more distant since the World Series ended? Like, because his performance in the World Series was so poor, you kind of forget about it.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the fact that he hit all those home runs, that doesn't really change that he's not a very good player. So
well, the White Sox are reported to have interest in him.
I actually heard about that. Yeah, that would make sense for them. I mean, he's better than the nobodies that are playing second base. I don't think Carlos Sanchez is ready. I don't think who's the other guy that was playing second base?
Micah Johnson.
Micah Johnson. I'm not sure he's ready. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do.
No one does. Even their front office doesn't know.
Nope, but I can tell you they're gonna talk it up and make it seem like it's better than it actually is. They always end up doing that.
I also read
last year they were supposed